What's up, loyal viewers and newcomers alike? I'm Parker Thune. This is the Oklahoma Drill, and at long last, the Sooners have reached the final week of spring practice. Of course, the spring session will culminate this Saturday, April 23rd, as the Sooners hit the field for the spring game, the very first exhibition under the direction of new head coach Brent Venables. And with that in mind, here's what we're tackling today on the Oklahoma Drill. 5 players on both sides of the ball that, in my eyes, are the players to watch this Saturday as the Sooners hit the field for the spring game. Now, I will be the first to admit this was a very difficult list to trim down to 5 on each side, 10 total. So there are obviously going to be players that some viewers feel I overlooked or that deserve a little bit more press and a little bit more buzz heading into this Saturday. Drop your suggestions in the comments below if you think anybody didn't make this list but should have. In my eyes, though, here are the 5 on either side of the ball that I'm going to be watching under a microscope come Saturday at the spring game. First things first, you have to start with the offense, and you have to start with Dillon Gabriel. And I understand that's probably a little bit cliche, a little bit overdone, a little bit cookie cutter to just talk about the quarterback right off the bat. But the reality of the situation is that, especially at a place like Oklahoma, quarterback is the most important position on the football field and has been for quite some time. So, by all accounts, the UCF transfer is a smooth operator. From what we've gotten to see in practice sessions, he looks really, really sharp and comfortable in his new environment. But seeing how that manifests in real time at the Power 5 level on Saturday against a defense that obviously isn't going to have a full Brent Venables install completed, but is going to have a little bit more nuance than perhaps what Dillon Gabriel is used to against conference competition in the AAC at UCF. I think it'll be interesting to see how he responds and also see just how much of a gap there is between him and the rest of the quarterback room, because this is obviously a speculative path that nobody wants to go down, but should injury befall Dillon Gabriel at some point in the 2022 season, Sooner fans are going to want to be able to have some reassurance that the next man up is going to be capable of shouldering the load. So whether that's Nick Evers or Ralph Rucker or whatever addition Oklahoma makes via the transfer portal at the conclusion of spring ball at the quarterback position, there needs to be a clear number 2 and there needs to be a clear contingency plan. So on one hand, you'd like to see a huge gap between Dillon Gabriel and the rest of the quarterback room. On the other hand, maybe you'd like to see a guy like Nick Evers shine and perhaps even outshine Gabriel on Saturday. Up next is Jovantae Barnes at the running back position, and I have talked ad nauseum about this kid. I am so high on his potential, and I do think he has the opportunity to knock on the door of a starting role this fall. I think he's going to push Eric Gray with everything he's got in him. Gray and Barnes are your 2 lead backs. I don't anticipate that changing. It could, but to me, and I think to a lot of other plugged-in folks, Barnes and Gray appear to be easily the 2 most talented backs in that backfield right now. I'm really excited to see Theo Wease at the wide receiver position, and this has less to do with him being an unquantified variable because Sooner fans got to see in 2020 what he was capable of when fully healthy. This has more to do with the fact that he is coming off a season in which he only appeared in 1 game and did not catch a pass because of a preseason foot injury. So I don't think it's a question of whether Theo Wease is at 100% because every indicator we have is that he is full speed ahead, full go. But I think it will be interesting in a competitive game speed environment to see how close Theo Wease's 100% post-injury is to Theo Wease's 100% pre-injury. Sticking with the theme of pass catchers, Brayden Willis at the tight end position is a guy I'm really excited to see on the field this Saturday. He's had an outstanding spring, and I think the Sooners need him in a big way this fall. He's a 5th-year senior. He's the elder statesman in this room. And the Sooners did bring in another 5th-year senior in Missouri transfer Daniel Parker. They've got 2 outstanding freshmen in Caden Helms and Jason Llewellyn. But it's pretty clear that that room belongs to Brayden Willis, and everybody looks up to him. So if he performs as well on Saturday as he has all throughout spring practices, and he can carry that over into the fall of 2022 such that he's a dangerous intermediate weapon for this Jeff Lebby offense at Oklahoma, I think Brayden Willis could be a key cog in the offensive game plan for the Sooners come September. This one's a bit of a wild card, but I'm very, very curious to see what the Sooners have on their hands in TCU transfer Tyler Guyton, who plays offensive tackle, but has actually seen some action at tight end over his first 2 collegiate seasons. So this is a guy that's big, versatile, and athletic. 6'7", somewhere in the neighborhood of 315 pounds, and moves very, very well for being as large as he is. In my eyes, there's not a whole lot of mystery as to your starting offensive line. I think you've got Anton Harrison and Wanye Morris at the tackles. You've got McCade Mattier and Chris Murray at the guards, and your center's Andrew Rame. But if there's a guy that makes a strong push to unseat one of those five, I can see Tyler Guyton being one of the more likely candidates. So let's flip that into the defensive side of the ball, and I have to start with my guy Ethan Downs, because I don't know that there is anybody across the Oklahoma media landscape as bullish on Ethan Downs' potential in the year 2022 as I am. I think this dude is poised for a breakout season. I can see him racking up double-digit sacks. I think he becomes a full-time starter. And I think Sooner fans are going to rally around the homegrown kid from Weatherford, Oklahoma. If he's not already a fan favorite, I think he will be with what I anticipate is going to be a very strong sophomore season. Let's stay in the trenches. The Hawaii transfer, Jonah Laulu. A lot of folks anticipated that he was going to play on the interior at defensive tackle. That's not actually the vision for him right now. He's going to play defensive end. And in essence, he's your new Isaiah Thomas, in that he's a guy that's certainly big enough to move to the interior if the scenario or the game situation demands it. But for the most part, he's going to be coming off the edge. He's going to be terrorizing offensive tackles. He's going to be using his strength, his frame, his athleticism to pressure the quarterback on an every down basis. And I think Laulu's going to be on the field a lot this fall. Now, for my money, the only two guys that I would lock into a starting spot on the defensive line as of right now are Jalen Redmond and Ethan Downs. But if I had to lay money on a third, give me Jonah Laulu, because I love what he brings to the table, and I think he's going to be an impact contributor for the Sooners, wearing Perion Winfrey's old number 8. You knew we weren't going to get through this video without talking about Jaren Kanak, right? The Hayes, Kansas product, 4-star signee out of the class of 2022, is the prototypical Brent Venables football player and is one of the freakiest athletes on this entire roster already as a true freshman. So to me, it's a matter of how quickly it comes together for Jaren Kanak, because long-term, he's going to be a stud. He's going to be an all-conference type of football player. But it all comes down to the mental side of things for me, because no one is going to question Jaren Kanak's physical ability. But learning to play linebacker in Brent Venables' scheme is much more difficult than learning to play linebacker in pretty much any other scheme. I think the ceiling for Jaren Kanak is exactly what you saw from Danny Stutzman a year ago. I think he can have that kind of impact as a true freshman if everything breaks his way and if he's able to flatten the learning curve a little bit. I'm hearing really, really good things about Kani Walker, the transfer cornerback from Louisville, 6'2", 205 pounds. He's a physical specimen, a redshirt freshman who only played in one game last year for Louisville. But don't let that fool you. This guy, as of right now, may be in position to start opposite Woody Washington at the other cornerback position. That will be an interesting positional battle to monitor, but he has had an excellent spring. He's impressed a whole lot of folks with his natural feel for the cornerback position and his playmaking ability. I think Kani Walker could be one of your starting 11. Again, that'll be something worth monitoring. Woody Washington is 1,000% locked in as one of your starting outside cornerbacks. Who's the other one? That's the question. Is it DJ Graham? Is it maybe somebody like Trey Morrison? Could it be Josh Eaton? For my money right now, I think it's going to be Kani Walker. Fifth guy on the defensive side of the ball that I want to hit on is Billy Bowman. And he's making the transition from nickelback to safety. We've heard Brent Venables talk repeatedly about how he wants his players to be versatile, especially on the defensive side of the football. I think Billy Bowman is the exception, not the rule, in that regard. I think Billy Bowman has a much higher ceiling if you just lock him into a single position and just let him do his thing. Last year, he was misused. As a true freshman, he got bounced from nickel to outside corner to safety and then ultimately back to nickel by the time the season concluded. That wasn't fair to him, and it really caused what had been a promising freshman season to end on a dissonant note. I think Bowman has more than a puncher's chance to start at free safety alongside Key Lawrence this fall, and I also think we're going to see a lot more of him in the return game, which is where he can be really, really exciting as a playmaker. So that's that. 5 guys on either side of the ball that I've got a red eye on heading into the spring game this Saturday. If you disagree, if there's anybody you feel was left off the list, again, drop it in the comments below. Let me know, and I'll see you next time on the Oklahoma Drill.